That's right. We come to you for all our budgetary needs. So if you can donate, please do. Any currency is good, including crypto. Gold and silver and diamonds, of course, are better. Crisis proof. Sure they are. But maybe you can't donate. That's okay too. That's all right too, because things are tough all over. They just are. They just are. This is today is the 17th of September, 2024. Like I said, it is Mid-Autumn Festival or Moon Festival. There's a whole story around that, which is actually really interesting. I'm going to tell you a little about the story in a second. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere, or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. That's right. That's right. Digital radios. But you know what? The archives are free. Another good reason to donate if you can. Just, if you can't, that's okay. Just tell people about the station. That's all good. So please, either donate or tell people. Equally good. The more people you tell, the better. We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and for you, Dave, that is...
I'm lucky enough to be in Darkajang country.
Of course you are. And I'm in Darak country, and we would like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. There's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack today. We're not going to go to the obvious one. So I want to talk very quickly about the Moon Festival and what it symbolizes and signifies. In fact, we'll look at mythology again, and this time we're looking at mythology through a modern lens. In the show cycle we do on the Shiny Side Out, current show cycle is Remembrance of 9/11, a bit of cross-pollination of advertising. The show cycle after that will be medical experiments on citizens. Hurrah! That's what we need. And civilians. Citizens and civilians. And then the show cycle after that, we're going to look at mythology. Ancient stories from all over the world. And we're going to look at them under the microscope of modernity. So that should be interesting. But the story of the Moon Festival. So there was this great warrior whose name I forget. I do apologize. Who was married to Chang'e. Chang'e is a lady. Very beautiful, apparently. And this man, this archer, I guess saved the world, or at least China. What happened? At some time in the past, there were 10 suns in the sky. 10 suns. And he shot down with his bow and arrow 9 of them, leaving only the one. Because what happened that these 10 suns produced enormous heat, evaporating the water, causing droughts, killing the crops, etc., etc. None of it any good. And so he shot it down. And the emperor and the gods were so thankful, they gave him the elixir of immortality. They gave him the elixir of immortality. But he didn't want to take it. Why? Because he was in love with his wife, Chang'e. Because what happens if you take the elixir? You are whisked away to live somewhere else. You can no longer dwell among the mortal humans. They'll take you away, right? So he didn't want to do that. So he gave the elixir to his wife to hide away so no one else would take it. And then the story sort of diverges into different versions of it. I'll tell you the version that I like. The archer had an apprentice, and the apprentice was jealous that he had gotten the elixir of immortality and wanted it for himself. So he tried to steal it, and Chang'e saw that's what he was doing. So in order to prevent the other guy from drinking it, she drank it. And as she drank it, she, of course, became immortal and was whisked away to the moon. Now, normally when you're immortal, you go much further than the moon. They whisk you away to some distant, I don't know, maybe other, star system, who knows. But the point is, you're whisked away. Never, yeah. So off she goes, right? But because she loved her husband so much, she stayed on the moon, so she could be near him. She couldn't be on the Earth, but she stayed on the moon, and the only companion she had was a rabbit, the jade rabbit. Yeah, don't ask me. Sure. But it's a really interesting story. Now, I will tell you in the next show cycle in Chinese about the details of it. But it's really interesting how, elixir of immortality being whisked away into space to some far distant land, planet, who knows, space station, I don't know. But she chose to stay on the moon to be near her love. The other versions of the story where she was greedy for the elixir herself and stole it from her husband, and other stories again. And I like this one. That's the one that I'm a romantic at heart. So that's what's today. Today is that festival. So if you're out there of Chinese descent or any Asian descent, and you celebrate as like I said, happy moon festival. People eat mooncakes. Mooncakes have an egg yolk or two or three or four. Of course, those yolks represent the moon, and these are pretty cool little mooncakes. You can have them without the egg. That's fine. It's a salted egg yolk, and not everybody likes it, so you can get the cakes. These mooncakes, they're really like they're pretty dense. Like it's like a pound cake, only denser, and they usually have fillings like it's a 2 pound cake, white lotus or red bean or what have you. Anyway, I'm having some later tonight with some tea because my wife is Chinese, so we celebrate that heritage as well as mine with our children at every turn, because I do believe that traditions and festivals are important. And I don't care if we don't say Merry Christmas anymore. I say Merry Christmas because that's the season. That's the freaking season. Or Happy Easter.
For the rest
okay, or Sing Ni Kwa Lak, which is Chinese New Year, or Happy Moon Festival, or Happy Hanukkah. We should all have the right to say whatever we want when we celebrate whatever festive season we celebrate. In Germany, December 6th sees the celebration of St. Nicholas Day. St. Nicholas Day. That's right. Because in Germany, Santa Claus doesn't bring presents except on December 6th. He fills your boot. He fills up your boot. The actual presents are brought by the Christ child, das Christkind. The Christ child brings you the presents, not Santa. Santa does it on December 6th. Yeah, you learned something. How about them apples? But I'll tell you what, Dave. Flooding and fire. And the flooding is so severe.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I grew up in Germany. I lived in Germany for 19 years, right? Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I was in Germany. There was flooding, sure. I've never seen anything like this in Europe. Like, they showed pictures now. I watched the footage, and it's just unbelievable. Not just there.
Mm-hmm.
Asia, these massive typhoons, right?
Yeah.
Flooding, and America is flooding. I mean, so look, there's nothing special about an enormous flood. Nothing. It happens. These are freak events that happen all the time. If they happen at the same time all over the world, then you should start listening and think, something is going on that didn't happen before. And in America, I think that this was Vietnam. 150-mile storm, I think it was. 150-mile storm. Is that right? I mean, that's just insane. America as well. It's just. I mean, I was blown away. They're so
not as much as they were.
No, that's true. And in Asia, again, most of Asia is suffering from these rainfalls as well, and mudslides, and hundreds of people are being killed. I mean, Europe it's only a few people, I guess, because they've got better rescue systems, I should think. But still, people are getting killed by this. It's look again. It's unprecedented, pretty much, and I don't know what to say. And the fires as well that raged earlier. I'm just wondering what's going to happen in the southern hemisphere now that we are approaching. It is, right? And to boot, we had record warm temperatures last week. We did, really really hot here, it's like summer. And now we've got record cold temperatures for the time.
That's right.
Why not? Come onto my seesaw. Just come on, get on. Come on, what you do? Insane. But okay, look, I don't know, Dave. What's been happening in your world, my friend?
I've been watching the fires in SoCal, and it's pretty bad. I was watching the Laurel Canyon doco on all of the music through the 60s and 70s. Fantastic doco. If you get some time up your sleeve, watch it. It connects all these bands together who are living in Laurel Canyon. So I've seen Laurel Canyon burning, and I'm glad they filmed what they filmed when they filmed it, and because it's not going to be the same.
Well, of course.
It's not going to be the same. The same thing's going to happen. Do you remember Hawaii, when Hawaii was burning?
Yeah.
Who moved in?
The people that could, with the cash.
The ultra wealthy. That's right. So Laurel Canyon was a delightful place. A lot of the buildings were built post-war, and everything was different. Every house was different, and when through the 60s it was a place you could rent, and all the musicians could live there. Only 5 minutes down the hill was Hollywood Boulevard, so it was a place they could play at night, and then come up in Crosby, Stills and Nash. They all lived there separately before they became Crosby, Stills and Nash. Crazy. I love the history of the area, but now it's going to be changed. Today there was a Sun Valley recycling truck that burst into flames. And we're seeing more of this from the lithium-ion batteries all around the world. It's not a good thing. They have to do what's called a live dump. So if the fire truck catches fire in the compressing rubbish bit, they just dump it, and they drive away from it because they need to be safe. When you have a highly compacted fuel source in there and there's a lithium-ion battery that ruptures, the whole thing can catch fire. So it's quite dangerous for the driver. And so that's what they do. I'm not saying that was the Laurel Canyon fire cause. No, just one of those things. Another one of those things that's happening. It's just, there was today also, Mackie, for some reason, which I'm only going to read the headline.
Yeah.
If you're interested in this, there was a mother of three, a flight attendant in Italy, who they thought she just fainted, but she died while the passengers were boarding the plane. And then they had to disembark, and emergency services had to deal with it. There was no resuscitating her. It's such a sad thing, Mackie. I don't know how we've gotten to where we've gotten. But that's without commenting. You can understand what I'm saying if you really need to. Now, Mackie, I was interested in seeing if we could obtain journalists' licenses somehow.
Oh, yeah, great idea. How do we do that?
I don't know. I'm going to put some time into understanding how. And there's an international one. I don't know what it's called, IJR or something, IJL. Whatever it's called, we'll probably have to get something like that. I think you just apply for it, and you pay a fee, and you've got it. Right? I don't think there's anything special around it, but Australia's putting this bill through, which is going to basically mean that you can go to jail for typing something into a comment.
See that? I mean, yeah, that's just.
But journalists and academia and politicians are all exempt.
I've got a degree. Does that mean I'm academia?
Well, I don't know. You remember what they did to what's his name? That Canadian fellow? They had to put him through re-education.
Oh, okay.
They did.
Yeah.
They forced him to sit through I don't know what you would call it, kind of trial, where they just said, you're wrong and you have to undergo training because you're hurting the reputation of the rest of us. Okay, thank you. So now he's very careful what he says. And he's self-policing. I think they've issued a you better do it or else. And whatever the else is, I don't know what it else is. But I don't want to be in that position. Mackie, do you know what I mean? I was talking to my friend. Yeah. My neighbour and I sat in his front yard in the sun today while he whittled. He whittled away because he likes whittle? Well, he was whittling a piece of privet, probably 2 inches across, and he was doing some gardening. So he sat down. He called me up and said, "Look, I'm in the sun." And I go, "Oh, well, I'll come down and join you. We'll just have a chat." And then we were chatting about this, about some future of ours that we would have where even talking in your front yard will attract attention of authorities, because when are you really going to be offline? I mean, when? You know, my phone right now is close to me. My computer is here. My house is filled with Google devices, so you can be in any room at any time, and someone could listen to you talking, I suppose, right? Your phone absolutely listens all the time. So at some point, if it was required to comply against some regulation, any of those, whether it's Google or any, I don't really care who it is. It's going to be big. Let's call it big tech. Let's lump it all into one big plasticine ball of technology, and they'd be listening. And depending on the jurisdiction you'd be in, just like in 1984, you must be looking at the television. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So you must be complying. Or a neighbour turns you in. There's two people here. I heard them talking about stuff they shouldn't be talking about.
Oh yeah. And so, make no mistake, that actually happens, right?
Oh, it does. It does. My ex-wife, she travelled Europe and went through some of we called them Eastern Bloc countries. This was Russia's wall hadn't come down. Like the German wall hadn't come down, Russia was still the USSR, and you couldn't say whatever you wanted to say, and you couldn't say it out loud even if you wanted to say it. So people didn't say it. Now, only after a whole bottle full of vodka and being in the right vicinity of the right people could they tell you who and what could you talk about. And I was surprised. I'd never heard of anything like this. I never grew up in a world like that. That was when I found out. I was that many years, 22 years old when I found that out. And while that wall came down, while that all kind of disappeared, because KGB, it still kind of existed to some extent, and we've turned. We have turned. I think England having, an ex-lawyer now in charge of everything, that's wrong. I think that's wrong for democracy. Think that's...
Sorry.
do you know what I mean? And I mean for the whole of democracy on the whole planet, I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because let's pretend that they're sticklers for the law. Well, all they have to do is go, well, we want to fix this, we'll just make a law. There you go. Now it's the rule. Now we can put people in jail for years, right?
Forever. Yeah.
We could put them away, but
where'd you put the key? What key?
Yeah, what key? we melted it, and it's now another key. So instead of the right amount of judicial system punishment, because what does, and all around the rest of the world, say the Norwegian countries have learned that putting people in jail does nothing. You really need to teach them how to behave in our society rather than, you got to make them want to earn it. And once they start to earn it, they start to see this is what you do, rather than the easy road that gets you back in jail again. Well, I mean, if you're putting someone in jail who has typed some stuff in as a comment because you used to be able to do it, now you can't, boy, oh boy, Mackie, where are we going to go from here, So
I can tell you where we have gone, and because speaking of jail, you're right. So it's easier to throw people into jail, right? Now, there's a problem with that. In many countries in the world, now the jails are overflowing. So they're releasing people into the wilderness, out of jail, for various reasons. There's just no more space.
40% of their term.
Yeah. Now the answer, of course, is build more jails, right? I'm kidding. But there's a segment of the population, and it's growing. And I'm not just talking about third world countries or South American banana republic dictatorships or whatever. Not at all. Even in the States, even in Australia, even in first world countries where people go to jail on purpose. They want to go to jail simply because it's better than being homeless.
Yeah, that's right.
Because in jail, now I'm not advocating. I'm not saying jail is a good thing at all. But if you're living on the street, have no income, and no prospects, and you're sleeping in rough, as it were, in winter especially, right? Now, summer you can probably sort of make do, but winter is murder, and in fact, it is a killer in some countries. It is so much better to be in jail. You get 3 squares a day. You might even learn a few skills, right? Make new friends. I mean, it's not great. You might get beat up. Yeah, well, you might get.
You get to spoon with Baba.
Well, there's that. But the thing is, people are now actively looking to be jailed, and I see this. The homelessness and people living in the streets, sleeping rough. That's even in Australia. It shouldn't happen in Australia. There are not enough people in Australia for us to forget the less fortunate. We only have 26 million people. That's the population of Greater New York. That's it. Okay? But I understand why it happens in countries that have hundreds of millions of people. I understand why it happens there. I get it. Population pressure, right? I get it. I do. Bangladesh, I think it's like, 200, 300 million people, and that country is tiny, that country. But in Australia, in fact, we are so rich, our mineral wealth is so great that our social services should be taken care of just from all the royalties that we never see.
They're pushed offshore. That's right.
It's ridiculous. Now, having said all of that, I mean, there's mismanagement and so forth. But jail is a real option. Jail is a real option for a lot of people, Dave.
Well, it used to be called a government scholarship.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And that was the what is it? A boarding school version.
Boarding school, yeah. And it's dreadful. It is dreadful. But there's a couple of things I did want to raise. One is a personal experience I've been having for a few weeks now, and only today was I sure that I'm actually experiencing it. Okay?
Oh, what was that?
Yeah. So, credit cards. They have a three-digit number at the back of them. It's called the security number or whatever it's called. Yeah, that's right. And essentially, so you put it in if you want to make a purchase online or whatever, right? And over time, you probably remember it off by heart, right? Now, I always use pretty much I only have 2 cards I can use. I only have 2 cards. That's it. I don't have any other credit cards. And one card I never use really for internet purchases, and the other card I do. So it's got a lower limit, etc. I mean, various reasons for that. But the point is this: it's just extra precautions. And the number in the back, you have to put in if you want to make a purchase. And this is the crazy bit. I know this is going to sound crazy, but it keeps changing.
I've got my tinfoil hat on.
It keeps changing. So the first 2 digits remain the same. It's only 3 digits. The first 2 digits remain the same. The last digit changes from one number to another number, and then back again. Only those 2, it's only between those 2 numbers. So if the first 2 numbers always the same, and the third number is either this number or that number, right?
Don't.
And it's driving me nuts
but it doesn't physically change on the card.
No, well, see, does it?
Well, does it?
That's the thing, because I look at the card, right?
Yeah.
And I know what I typed in last time. I know for a fact, because I think about it. And I type in the same thing, it doesn't work. So I type in the other number combination, and it works. And the next time, that number combination won't work.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's right. So
you're like fringe between the 2 universes.
I seem to be, well, the only indicator I have that anything is happening is that number on the back of my credit card. I seem to be bouncing between those 2, right? And I use it to play Lotto, this card, because it's actually linked to my savings account.
Yeah, so you're using it weekly at least.
Yeah, I am. So I don't like to use credit cards. I use, like I said, I only have 2 cards, and this card is actually doesn't have any money on it that you can. It's just my little, only a couple $100 in that thing. So if it was compromised, big deal, who cares, right? But the point is, I always use that card to play the lotto, and I play online because it's easier, right? So I type it in. And it's not like I'm changing credit cards either, because the credit card is the one that's there. That's the one that remembers, right? It's like and I just type it. The only thing I have to actually type in is my security number. That's it. Like the 3 digits. That's it. Nothing else. And I do it every week, but it changes, and it's driving me. I thought, nah, I just chalked. This has been happening for months. I chalked it up to I'm misremembering what I put in last time. So I made a point of remembering. I wrote it down. And lo and behold, I was right. That's changed.
Wow.
It makes no sense at all. There's no scenario that I can think of where this makes any sense at all. Even as I'm saying this to you, it sounds nuts.
You
right?
you hear yourself saying it, go, oh, okay, wow.
That can't be. I mean, it's just complete insanity. It makes no sense whatsoever. And truly it doesn't. But anyway, so I'm just saying, maybe if anybody out there in the world has similar experiences, I'd love to hear from you. But it is just, I don't know what to. Honestly, Dave, I don't know what to do with that one. It doesn't serve a purpose other than gaslighting me, I guess.
Gaslighting you into, that's right. I'm shaking.
Gaslighting.
Wave your arm, Hunter boy. I'm shaking my arm at my CIA handler for that one. That's really funny. I've got a feature my bank allows me to issue a one-time 3-number code.
Okay.
If I'm going to use my card somewhere, it's part of a safety feature where if I don't kind of trust the website that I want to use my credit card on, but I really want a thing, then I can generate a one-time use. It does it, and then if they try to do anything with that, or if the data's stolen, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be. It'll be declined. It's really cool.
I have that feature, so it is not that. But you're right. That's because it's actually on the back of the card, right?
Yeah, it's printed on the card.
But it does change on the back of the card as well. That's the kicker. No, it's insane. It makes, and I know it's this digit, but then it's not, because I type it and it says wrong. I type it in, and I look at my finger hitting the numbers, so I'm sure I'm hitting the right numbers, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so it's not that, so it must be this one. So I type it in. Oh, lo and behold, it works. What?
Wow.
No, it makes no sense.
Well, you know what? I'm glad I'm me, because I think that would do my head in.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting. The other thing I did want to, I mean, look, it's inevitable that we talk about it, obviously, and I don't want to really talk about it. I really don't. But
no, I know.
I have to mention it.
No, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, we'll just mention it, and I'm just going to say one sentence to what I think is happening. There's a second attempt on.
That's true. Yes, we all know who it was. Yep.
Former President Donald. Yeah, and I'm thinking now. I mean, if it is an actual attempt, I'm not saying it isn't, but if it is an actual attempt, then this is completely unprecedented. Yes, we had presidents assassinated in the past, of course, Lincoln, of course, Kennedy, right? And of course, Ronald Reagan was also was an attempt on his life. Never two. And it seems that the first attempt on his life was by a guy who was looking up both his schedule and Biden's schedule. So I guess he wasn't quite sure who he was going to assassinate at that point. I think it was my any money move. I'm going to take this one because it was an easier thing. It was a complete Secret Service failure, by the way, the first one, in my opinion. Like whatever. The second one, though, I mean, first of all, Donald Trump wasn't scheduled to be there. That's number one. Number two, his schedule isn't available. But even if it were available, it would show that he wasn't going to be there. So this guy waited for 12 hours on the off chance that he would be there. I don't know. Is it going to hurt him? Is it going to help him? That's my question. Because the first one definitely helped him. Right? This one, I don't know what to do with this one. And if there's a third one, then I'm going to go, let's all pack it in. None of this makes any sense anymore. Right? And not only that, if you go twice, then you've got the most inept assassins that you could ever find. You know? I mean, what? I mean, JFK had a magic bullet, right? So JFK, there were at least 2 or 3 shooters. At least. So either they're not putting in the effort anymore, right? Or it's just, I don't know. Dave, this whole thing, honestly, I find it very confusing. What is your take?
Oh, yeah. So I watched it basically live. Basically. So as the moment the stories came out, I know I sent the pictures of the news story. So once the dust settled, it's now been found that the shooter hadn't shot his weapon.
That's right, yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, when first questioned, said that he heard some shots, but he didn't know what was going on, which is fine, because the Secret Service were another hole down. Golf course. So down course from him, he was on 4. They were on 5, just clearing it, making sure it's okay. They saw this is the report. They saw a gun barrel sticking through the cyclone fence or chain link fence, depending on which country you live in, and they took action immediately. They didn't wait for the shooter to shoot, as we had heard may have been the process. That was conjecture, but they shot at him. But he had, it appears, this is what the local sheriffs was reporting, that on the chain link fence there's photographs there of the ceramic plates that he would have in body armor hanging up there. He was there for a while. You're right, Trump wasn't supposed to there. But he's like, oh well, maybe I'll go today, and it wasn't on his schedule. There was no advertising. Yes, he might have been there for the shooter. Well, the suspected shooter may have been there for up to 12 hours or something like that. So it's interesting. You're right. It was a 400 to 500 yard shot if it was clear enough to see the target from his location, but really he would have waited until he was at the tee on the 5th hole, and he would have not been very far at all, 30 yards or something away. So I've seen the aerial view of it. I've investigated what I can from being in being in the Denver airport bunker as a crisis actor. I've looked at what I can. You're right again, Mekki. You're right again. Remember that fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. That's what I kept hearing in my head.
Yeah, so, I know, right?
Yeah, so a second shooter or a suspected shooter. Now, I've even seen videos of the guy being interviewed in CNN March, or not CNN, on I think maybe CNN or another channel, where he was in a Biden march, pro-Biden. So he's one of those people that would be all in your face if you're on site filming.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. So they'll determine what they need to determine. They'll seek the justice that's required.
He's only been charged with possession of a gun because he's an ex-felon. He's not allowed to.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And also having a gun which has the serial number of the operator. Those are the 2 things he's been charged with.
At the moment, so they can hold him.
Oh yeah. But can you charge somebody? This is an honest question because I don't know.
For something you haven't done yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, he may have had the intent to assassinate him. I don't know.
They get a confession. Right? Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it. But he hasn't. Well, he didn't do it. Well, you'd say, well, because I stopped you. Well, good. So you can charge him with attempted assassination, I guess. Right? Whatever that carries, 10 years or whatever.
So
this is just.
He's Joe Public, with a firearm set up at the golf course with 2 ceramic plates on the fence waiting for a target. You know, if he claims he's only shooting gophers, yeah, good old Caddyshack reference, then how can they say he wasn't? Except he had a GoPro up there on the fence so he could film it.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You're correct.
There'd have to be more information. Maybe he spoke to it before he did it. Maybe there's something on the GoPro that is evidence. You know.
Yeah, let's learn more. Which reminds me, we never learned more about those things they shot down over Canada. Remember? It's almost a year ago now. Nothing.
Yeah,
no, have
right.
you heard anything? I haven't heard a peep.
No, it is
Nothing.
silence. Total silence.
What happened? No, never your mind. Don't worry about it. What? Hey, no, what? Yeah, I find it worrying when these things happen. I would like to know what's going on, but you know, hey, what can you do? But yeah, so we are now smack bang in the middle of I don't know what to call it. Can't call it crazy season anymore because it's just continuous.
Yeah, Mecky and I talked about this last. Well, was it Sunday? We can't call things crazy anymore because it just keeps getting crazier.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember CrowdStrike?
Uh-huh.
Called that one.
So did I. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was cool. So
Look at us. Look at us calling that. In the first few moments of it all going south.
Yeah. That was good. But again,
for those who aren't familiar, the quick 1-minute rundown was CrowdStrike released an update and it brought Windows devices down because both CrowdStrike and the owner of the computer in large corporations didn't preview the update in a selected environment, not in production but in test or dev. No one tested it. It was buggy. It was released and brought systems down. That's what it did. It nearly stopped the planet, is what it nearly did.
That's the truth.
And it shows just how fragile. If you want to bring the planet down, do it for real. Do it for real. Do you know what I mean? Go and work for CrowdStrike. Go and make a buggy update that you swap in at the last second. It's all approved, ready to go. You swap it in and send it. You don't care. You don't have to work there anymore. You could bring the whole... I'm not saying you should do it, but it shows how fragile, or the fragility of everything that we have and the trust that we have. The implicit trust on people that are supposed to protect you. And this is the same. I call out, CrowdStrike for that. I call out big businesses for not, following procedure. White paper. There's white papers on it. This is the best practice. You should be doing it this way. And they both failed. In fact, every company that was affected by it failed that. And I call them on that because that's no person, no CISO, that's the role, in there can say that they follow procedure on that release. They can't. So, I'm calling you out for failing to do it, and you failed. So, or you and your procedures failed, right? That's the best way to do it. And it annoys me, Mecky. It really annoys the hell out of me because we're going to sue them. Well, no, that you can't. You can't sue them because the fine print says that we may release something that fails. So, good luck with that.
Well, that's it. Now, see, there's a lot of legislation happening at the moment where a lot more culpability is apportioned to previously untouchable entities, right? And we see it now.
That sounds good.
With banks. Yeah, it is. Look, so we've always been, when it comes to banks, we've always been pretty much protected from credit card fraud. Pretty much always, right? The banks will reimburse you if it's obviously a fraudulent. And I've gone through an experience myself, where I was transactions were made in Poland and buying Polish artwork for $3,000. What? And I go, okay, this is clearly not me.
I've had
but
similar, but they were onshore purchases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's always been pretty much okay, but now this is being expanded into scams. So what happened? This is actually what happened. There was a person, and they had a bank account and had about I think $1 million and a bit dollars in there, and they were fooled by this amazing scamming ring, and I mean amazing. They spoofed the bank side. They used real employees' names from the bank. All the whole kit and caboodle, right? And they lost all the money. Now the bank says, no, it's not my problem. It's your problem. Now that's changing now, where the legislation might come through or will come through that will say no. You have to safeguard your clients at all costs. And apparently, in Europe, where they do it with some European countries, it works really well because the banks at that point will do everything they can so this won't happen. And
Wow.
the scamming number, or the number of scamming incidents, has actually gone down in countries that have introduced this legislation.
Yeah, right.
So that's happening, but also other things. You know, now that platforms like Uber and so forth. I'm not picking on Uber; it's just the most well known, I guess. They are no longer considered not connected to the people that use their
that's
platform.
right. I remember that legislation was going through. Yep.
They now have a legal, in Australia only at this point, they have now legal obligations to look after those people like employees.
Wow.
They're no longer considered just...
Huge.
Because the argument was always, hey, I provide a platform. I don't care what you do with it. Here it is. You interact with whoever you drive or whoever you deliver food to or whatever the service might be that you're providing. That's nothing to do with me. I'm just giving you the platform to do it. And that's a fair enough argument, really, if you think about it. But what it does, of course, is create this completely unprotected worker class of people that, well, who do you work for? Well, no one really. I mean, yourself, but you don't have an ABN, so you're not a contractor. You're not a self-employed person that way, because you don't need an ABN for this. You don't need to be a registered business. If you want to be a contractor, you have to be a registered business in Australia.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You have to have an Australian business number. I don't know how this for the rest of the world.
I have an ABN and insurance.
We both do, my friend. Indeed.
Yeah, that's right.
And the thing is, that's fair. I mean, that's how it has to be. But these guys that you see on the, whatever, Menulog or Uber or whatever they are,
DoorDash, you name them.
Yeah, Dash, all of those. They're not. They're just dudes or dudettes that go around doing stuff, right? There's no insurance. Uber, the only insurance you have is whatever the guy has on his car. That's the insurance that you have. That's it.
That's right.
Is the car roadworthy? Who knows? Maybe
well,
not.
Uber says the car can only be a certain amount of years. I think 6 years old or something.
Yeah,
so
that doesn't mean it's roadworthy.
It doesn't. It could have been through hell and back.
Yeah, you can wreck a car driving off the lot if you really wanted to. But see, this is where technology is leaping forward, right? And then and this has been going on for years, and now the laws of various jurisdictions and countries and regions is catching up with this, because it had to, right? And it's worse in the tech and especially biotech sector, right? And all kinds of things will happen now where there are certain things. Should you do them? Would we or shouldn't we do them? I don't know. We can do them, but doesn't mean we should do them.
That's right.
Genetic splicing, gene manipulation. It becomes really tough. Now, as long as it is to a third organism like a crop or an animal, nobody really cares that much. You don't want to eat modified or genetically modified food, no GM food for you. They're fair enough. You can try to find organic food, right, or naturally grown food, with
heirloom seeds. Good luck with that.
Sure, but as soon as you start manipulating the genes in us, I think you're running into all kinds of issues. My opinion.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Look, Becky, I always wanted to, and I always thought we'd be there already. I want a long-haired butterfly as a pet that maybe lives 100 years. Who cares? We could do that today. We could.
We could.
We absolutely could. But there's no money
And
behind
that means,
designing
but that
it.
means
But
we are doing it.
it's more than
Right?
likely. So, Becky and I, we did a show so long ago now, it was not funny, where we talked about the chimpanzee.
Yes.
There
Oh,
were
yes.
there were rumors that this had been going on at some point within an American government agency, probably black budget, who knows. And it was an interesting topic to talk about. Probably, I don't know if that archive exists or whatever anymore. But if this is that point, to your point, if the tech is there that we can do it, good question. Should we do it?
Yeah.
And it always takes me back to that Dr. Marvin Monroe episode where he's trying to get money from Bernsey. And he says, well, I need $1 million to... I want to raise a child in a silo. And why? Well, I want to... And I predict he's going to harbour a deep resentment. And that was it. It was so thin. There was nothing really there. Oh, I bet that's true. Right. I bet that's the case. But just to do it, to see if that was the case, is crazy. Because we're humans, Becky, we don't really want much to happen. We don't want, when we did it, I know we did a newer show where we were talking about they mix two different animals together and bring them only a couple of weeks in to test to see whether it would work at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then they terminate them. But who's saying that all of them get terminated? And is there any place in a world where they don't? Yeah.
But Japan, because Japan passed a law where you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, wow.
And you go, oh, really? We think that's a good idea. And the funny thing is that happened during COVID, so nobody actually looked at that law.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever paid any attention to it. So, but
there's a lot of news above that at the time.
You can now carry to term. Absolutely. Whatever the hybrid you created can now be carried to term and I don't know, live a healthy life. I don't know. It's just nuts, man.
Please kill me.
And that's a country deciding this is a good idea. I mean, individuals given half a chance, in my opinion. Of course they have to do it. Of course it's being done. If it can be done, it will be done. It's just how it's the black budgets, trillions of dollars, not just in the US, but other countries.
That's right.
You think they're not doing this? You really think they're not doing this? Of course they're doing it.
I'd say yes, they're doing it everywhere.
100%. And this is really the point, right? This is the danger we're all facing, because, I mean, how do you safeguard? I mean, we don't know what we're doing. Sorry, I'm being very blunt here. Right? We don't know what we're doing. We're playing with a whole bunch of stuff. We don't fully understand it, right? It brings me back to that wonderful scene in the movie Oppenheimer. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. It's actually really good. Matt Damon plays a military officer, and he's talking to Robert Oppenheimer, in the bunker just before the first test, before the actual live, atomic bomb test.
They're in the bunker.
And
it's
he says,
all armed, the countdown's on.
Yeah. And he said, Fermi is taking bets on whether or not this is going to work. Or if we set the atmosphere on fire or destroy the planet. That's what Matt Damon says. And Oppenheimer goes, yeah. Well, what are the odds? Oh, they're pretty good. Well, what are they?
They're close to zero.
Close to zero, like 99.999. That's pretty good. And Matt Damon goes, no, that's not good. And Oppenheimer goes, well, what would be good? Zero chance. That would be good. Zero chance.
That's right.
And Oppenheimer goes, well, it's untested technology. What do you expect? Or words to that effect.
I do love that. He says close to zero, and he goes, no, it should be zero.
So what's good? Zero. And the thing is, this is what we're doing every day.
Yeah.
Every day we're playing with stuff like that, and worse. We don't know what's going to happen. When they switched on the Hadron Collider, literally,
That's right.
No idea what would happen. Right? I mean, Could it create a black hole that swallows the Earth? It's possible.
Probably. Yeah.
Small chance. Small chance. No chance is good. So,
Mackie, my favorite comment from the LHC, when they were trying to turn it on and they kept finding problems. My favorite comment was from one of the engineers who had clearly been underground, away from his family for far too long. But I love that he went there with it, and he when questioned, so why does it keep having all these problems? And he dead set said this. He said, I believe that we're coming from the future back in time to now and sabotaging it. And he goes, who? And he goes, us. It's like, okay, that's the time when the interviewer puts the notepad back in the pocket and is looking for someone else to interview.
Yeah.
But this was really the thoughts. Yeah. So they're the words from someone who has absolutely gone down every path, can't understand anything else. Why is it failing? Don't know. We checked that 100 times and now it's failed. And it was the most likely explanation at that point. Was it true? Could have been. I wonder when it is that he discovers you can go back in time to sabotage it. That's the best guess ever.
Doesn't really matter when, does it?
No, because what do we want?
Time travel!
When?
Doesn't matter!
When are we going to get it? Doesn't matter, it's irrelevant.
It is completely. But yeah, it's really interesting. When you look at all the things that we just, like I said before, we're like that monkey who sticks its head into this hole in the ground to see if there's a snake inside. Ah, no snake! Well done, Bob. And we do this with everything. It's insane, Dave.
Oh, Mackie, I posted the double slit again. Did you see that?
Oh, did you? Good man.
It's the monkey that looks ahead, and then the next frame is looking sideways.
Yes. I love that one. Yeah, no, I did see it.
100 years. I was just reminding people. It's 100 years.
And we still have no idea. I mean, there are lots of explanations, right? But we don't really know. We don't know. What is it? Why?
We don't know why, does it? No.
Why?
Why? No.
And anybody who knows, by the way, there's a Nobel Prize, and that's worth $1 million, right? So if you can figure out why and prove it. I mean, the thing is, you have to prove it. That's the thing. You can't just talk about stuff and make, but $1 million. That's why. Prove it. So once you can prove it, they'll give you the cash and the prize, and everybody will love you. Or hate you, depending on what the answer is.
No $1 million is being given out to anyone who's yelled out dark matter. Right?
No, or strings. Strings!
String theory. That's right.
Strings.
Everyone went, well, that's a really cool thing, but no, there's no Nobel Prize in that for them. But if you can work this out, there was a the difference between relativity and quantum theory, Mackie. There's a gap that someone's put a paper out and it's being peer reviewed and it's rubbish. They said that we found it. We found the connection, and it's rubbish.
Oh, okay.
All the equations are wrong.
Well, that's
how they made it work.
Well,
we don't need half these letters in there. Get rid of those letters. They don't do anything.
That's nice.
Look at works.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
With 1 minute left, I'll hand it back to you, buddy.
Is it really? Jeez, time flies. Hey, look, it's Tuesday today. We'll be back on Thursday, so, hopefully you can join us again. And then Sunday we'll have a bit more of a 9/11 retrospective. There's a few interesting things, and a lot of the answers still haven't come to us. This has been Plato's Cave. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Please don't go anywhere. I'm sure the station has got stuff that is coming out that's awesome. And what do we say, Dave?
Be safe.